What might Iran fit into Israel-Palestine war? It is improbable that Iran would initiate direct military offensives against Israel. Nevertheless, there exists a genuine potential for a broader regional conflict to arise. There has been widespread speculation on the potential involvement of Iran in Hamas's violent assault on Israel, as well as inquiries into the likelihood of the Islamic Republic or its regional proxies becoming engaged in the ongoing conflict between Israel and Hamas. Iran has refuted any allegations of complicity in the orchestration of the incident, while the nation's supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, expressed admiration for the act of violence. During a broadcast speech on Tuesday, Khamenei expressed his appreciation for the individuals responsible for orchestrating the assault on the Zionist government, by extending his gratitude towards them. The responsibility for this catastrophe lies with the activities of the Zionist government itself. Hamas, for its side, has asserted exclusive accountability for the assault that occurred on October 7, resulting in the demise of around 1,200 Israeli individuals, mostly civilians, causing injuries to over 3,000 others, and leading to the capture of up to 150 captives. Despite the long-standing enmity between Iran and Israel that sprang from the 1979 Iranian Revolution, it is noteworthy that the two nations have not engaged in direct military confrontation so far. Nevertheless, Iran provides backing to other proxies in the area, such as Hezbollah, a Shia terrorist organization situated in southern Lebanon. It remains uncertain if this group has taken any definitive actions to actively engage in the fight at present. This week, projectiles were discharged from the southern region of Lebanon into the present-day northern territory of Israel. However, it remains uncertain if these projectiles were initiated by Hezbollah or an alternative faction. According to analysts interviewed by Vox, Iran does provide material assistance, training, and financial support to both Hamas and Hezbollah. Proxy groups, which refer to armed groups associated with a state actor, such as the Fatemiyun Brigade in Syria, the Badr organization in Iraq, and the Houthis in Yemen, demonstrate a higher level of coordination with the Iranian regime. However, it would be inaccurate to solely attribute responsibility for the recent attack on Saturday to the Iranian regime. According to Ali Vaz, the head of the Iran project at the International Crisis Group, the relationship between Hamas and Iran is characterized by its intricacy. The organization in question is mostly Sunni, in contrast to the majority of parties that Iran lends assistance to, who are predominantly Shia. However, it is important to note that this group has a notable history of discord with Iran, particularly due to Iran's backing of the Assad administration during the onset of the Syrian civil war in 2011. According to Vaz, it is a rare occurrence for a non-state actor to have a substantial political and ideological divide with its patron, as is the case with Hamas and Iran. This phenomenon is not often seen, even when organizations like the Houthis in Yemen sometimes defy the policies and desires of their supporters. According to U.S. authorities, the United States has not only provided Israel with ammunition and other supplies, but has also deployed a carrier strike group in the eastern Mediterranean as a preventive measure. This deployment aims to dissuade Iran from engaging via one of its proxy organizations. While the probability of Iran initiating targeted and direct military assaults on Israel is low, there exists a genuine potential for a regional conflict to ensue. However, assessing the probability of this occurrence, particularly considering the potential consequences for Iran, presents a distinct inquiry. The historical rivalry between Iran and Israel. Israel and Iran once maintained a significant level of economic and strategic cooperation, characterized by Iran's procurement of Israeli weaponry and Israel's purchase of Iranian oil. This period of collaboration, however, came to an end with the occurrence of the Iranian Revolution in 1979. According to the U.S. Institute for Peace, both nations maintained strong relationships with the United States and saw combating the Soviet Union and the spread of communism as integral components of their respective foreign policies. However, after the 1979 revolution, a Shia government with a hard-line stance came into power. which saw Israel as occupying Muslim territory and regarded the United States as complicit in this occupation. According to Shireen Hunter, an independent researcher and honorary fellow at Georgetown University's Al-Walid Center for Muslim-Christian Understanding, the perception of Israel in this particular perspective is that it functions as a Western colonial outpost, while Zionism is seen as a kind of imperialism. This viewpoint was expressed in an article authored by Hunter for the Stimson Center in March. During that period, several Arab countries expressed their disapproval of Israel's legitimacy as a Jewish state. Additionally, extremist factions, who were against Egypt's peace accord with Israel, united under the banner of the Rejectionist Front. In addition, it is noteworthy that entities such as Hezbollah in Lebanon and Hamas in the Palestinian territories have emerged, exhibiting a dual purpose of opposing Israel while also catering to local populations. Hezbollah, as an illustrative case, emerged as a reaction to several internal pressures inside Lebanon, notably included Israel's military incursions in 1978 and 1982, aimed at eradicating Palestinian terrorist factions operating in the area. Additionally, it is important to consider that this occurred within the framework of a protracted and violent sectarian civil conflict, spanning a duration of 15 years in Lebanon. In addition to perpetrating acts of terrorism against U.S. and Israeli targets within Lebanon, the organization also extended limited provisions and assistance to individuals residing in economically disadvantaged Shia regions located south of Beirut. This outreach effort experienced growth during the tenure of Hassan Nasrallah, whose augmented allocation towards social welfare initiatives for this particular demographic contributed to the rise in Hezbollah's public appeal. Besides engaging in militant and terrorist endeavors, Hezbollah also has representation in the Parliament of Lebanon. However, it is worth noting that their political backing has seen a dip in the most recent elections. The Islamic Republic of Iran has been actively involved in supporting Hezbollah by providing financial resources and training from the early stages of the group's formation. This well-documented connection between Iran and Hezbollah is indicative of Iran's strategic efforts to expand its influence throughout the Middle East. The relationship between Iran and Hamas exhibits a certain level of complexity. While both the Islamic Republic and Hezbollah provide financial support, training, and weaponry to Hamas, Iran does not exercise direct control over Hamas operations. Furthermore, Hamas does not consistently coordinate its objectives with Iran. Iran's relationship with other groups really fits onto a spectrum, Vaz said. On one end of the scale, there exists a notable connection between Hezbollah and Iran, which may be likened to the bond shared by two NATO members. Hezbollah exclusively relies on Iran for state support, but Hamas and other terrorist organizations in Iraq and Syria maintain affiliations with many governments. Undoubtedly, Hamas maintains a more flexible association with Iran. However, several observers concur that the organization has derived advantages from Iranian financial resources, instructional programs, and other forms of assistance. However, it is not evident why one should assume that Hamas would have collaborated with Iran in relation to this specific attempt, particularly considering the extensive infiltration of the Iranian government by the Israeli intelligence agency. According to Vaz, engaging in direct coordination with Iran might have significantly jeopardized Hamas's intentions for their strike on October 7. Is there a possibility of Iran being directly engaged in the conflict? It is unlikely. I don't think they are stupid enough to have made such an egregious error, akin to the one made by Hamas. According to a report by the New York Times on Thursday, the United States and Qatar have imposed restrictions on $6 billion in assets due to an ongoing investigation into Iran's involvement in Hamas's capabilities and its assault on Israel. This situation has significant consequences and potential losses. The issue at hand pertains to Iran's potential direct involvement. During a panel discussion held on Tuesday, Raphael Cohen, the head of the Strategy and Doctrine program at the RAND Corporation's Project Air Force, expressed his views. In terms of probability, this situation is positioned towards the less probable end of the spectrum. However, if Israel or Iran were to engage in direct military action against each other. It would have significant implications for the area, perhaps leading to a bigger conflict including not just Israel, but also several Arab nations, Gulf states, and Saudi Arabia. Vaz said that in the last several years it has been Israel on the offensive in Iran, rather than the other way around. According to Vaz, Israel and Iran have been involved in a protracted multidimensional Cold War with each other for an extended period. In recent years, an examination of Israel's covert and overt operations against Iran reveals a notable absence of proportional retaliation. Israel has engaged in cyber attacks targeting Iranian infrastructure, exemplified by the significant Stuxnet attack on Iran's Natanz nuclear enrichment facility, as well as targeted assassinations of military commanders and nuclear scientists in Syria. Iran has previously shown a noteworthy trend towards de-escalation in its relations with the United States and other nations. This was exemplified by a recent agreement in September, whereby Iran released a number of American nationals who were being detained in the country. In return, Iran secured the release of 5 of its own people, and gained access to $6 billion in assets, which were designated for humanitarian purposes. Regional players such as Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates have made progress in mitigating tensions with Iran, and devising strategies to address their own disputes. It seems improbable that they would jeopardize these efforts by openly engaging in an assault on Israel. Hezbollah has the potential to engage in direct involvement, as seen by their past conflict with Israel in southern Lebanon in 2006. This particular conflict concluded with an Israeli withdrawal, and the subsequent deployment of United Nations peacekeeping troops to the region. According to Joel Rubin, a former Deputy Assistant Secretary of State for Legislative Affairs in the Obama administration, Hezbollah has shown a consistent pattern of making independent choices, irrespective of the presence or absence of an American aircraft carrier. The presence of the United States in the region is expected to provide assistance and reinforcement, with the aim of exerting sufficient influence on those who have sway over Hezbollah, so compelling them to desist from their current course of action. According to a report by Reuters, Hossein Amir Abdollahian, the foreign minister of Iran, engaged in meetings with high-ranking members of Hezbollah and Lebanese authorities in Beirut throughout the current week. Amir Abdollahian said on Thursday that any further war crimes committed against Palestine and Gaza would elicit a reaction from other entities within the Axis, presumably including Iran, Hezbollah, militant factions in Iraq and Syria, as well as armed Palestinian organizations. And it might be argued that the Zionist entity and its proponents will bear the responsibility for the ensuing ramifications. However, the precise implications of this statement, within the framework of the ongoing conflict, and the attempts to reduce tensions between Iran and its opponents remain ambiguous. According to Vaz, the most probable scenario is the use of the ongoing war by ideologically aligned forces supported by Iran, but with tenuous connections, such as Palestinian armed factions, or those operating in Syria and Iraq. These groups may exploit the situation to launch attacks against either Israel or United States locations inside Syria and Iraq. Since March, there has been a notable absence of assaults on U.S. forces in Syria and Iraq, owing to the de-escalatory agreements between the United States and Iran. However, in the event that these agreements collapse, such as if the United States were to indefinitely suspend the $6 billion held in Qatar, Iran may be inclined to instigate smaller affiliated factions to initiate attacks on U.S. positions. The video concludes at this point. Thank you for seeing, and I anticipate our encounter in the subsequent video. If you find this video enjoyable, kindly consider subscribing to the channel, sharing it with your acquaintances, and expressing your appreciation by giving it a thumbs up. We really appreciate your ongoing viewing. Farewell, and may you have a pleasant day.